Ibrahim Traoré captures two foreigners spy. In the heart of West Africa, a nation fights to write its own destiny. Burkina Faso, land of the upright people. A country rich in culture, resilience, and a history of resistance. But in 2025, a story unfolded that would test its sovereignty and expose a truth hidden behind smiles and cameras. Two foreigners arrived here, armed not with weapons, but with lenses, microphones, and a story the world would believe. They called themselves journalists. They said they came to celebrate Africa. To celebrate him, President Ibrahim Traoré, soldier, leader, symbol of a new Africa, a man who expelled foreign troops, defied old colonial powers, and vowed to protect his people. But these two visitors, they weren't here to document his vision. They were here to dismantle it. For weeks they filmed, they interviewed, they praised. But behind their cameras, another mission was unfolding. A mission that could unravel a nation. They thought they were invisible. They thought Africa was blind. They were wrong, because Ibrahim Traoré was watching. What happened next wasn't just a confrontation. It was a reckoning, a moment where truth erupted in a storm of evidence, courage, and a leader's unshakable resolve. This is how a president turned the cameras on the spies who thought they controlled the narrative. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from. Drop a comment. And if you're ready to see how the hunter became the hunted, stay with us. To understand this story, you must first understand this brave and African most feared man at its center. Ibrahim Traoré. Born in 1988 in the rural village of Kara, Traoré was not destined for power. He was a quiet student, a geologist by training, who joined the military not for glory, but out of necessity. He defended us during student protests. Even then, he believed Burkina Faso's future depended on self-reliance, not foreign aid. By 2020, Captain Traoré had seen enough. While politicians in Ouagadougou grew wealthy, his soldiers fought jihadists with rusted rifles and empty stomachs. The disillusionment festered until it exploded. Traoré, we will no longer be pawns in someone else's game. Africa has eyes now. For decades, France stood as Burkina Faso's partner, but by 2023, Traoré's government had expelled French troops, suspended Radio France Internationale, and accused Paris of fueling the insurgency. France's counterterrorism strategy failed. Traoré saw it as colonialism repackaged, foreign soldiers on African soil, answering to foreign capitals. As France left, new allies arrived. But Traoré's message remained clear. Burkina Faso's sovereignty was non-negotiable, a stance that would soon be tested. October 2024. Two men arrived in Ouagadougou. Their visas said journalists. Their passports said French. Their mission said otherwise. One of the spy, as journalist, we're here to tell Africa's story, the resilience, the beauty. President Traoré is an inspiration, but their questions strayed. How does the army patrol the northern border? Where are the new Russian-supplied drones stored? Journalist. Real reporters publish. These two? They filmed for weeks, but never filed a story. Their appreciation felt performative. Within days, Burkinabe intelligence noticed. The men avoided local SIM cards, used burner phones, and met sources in dimly lit cafes. One of the intelligence officer reveals, "We cloned their devices, emails to Paris, maps of military bases, all encrypted. They were good, but not good enough." The evidence mounted. Yet Traoré waited. This would not be a quiet arrest. It would be a spectacle. The playbook hasn't changed. But Traoré was rewriting the rules. Traoré. They think we are blind. They are wrong. Africa sees everything. While the city slept, Burkina Faso's intelligence services were wide awake. Every movement, every call, every coded message from the two foreign journalists was quietly logged. Their phones were cloned without a touch, their emails decrypted, their late-night meetings watched from a distance. The net was closing, but no one outside a small circle in the palace had any idea. What they found was not the work of reporters, it was espionage. Emails sent to foreign intelligence agencies, photographs of sensitive military installations, lists of contacts with known operatives in Abidjan and Dakar. The evidence was overwhelming. But President Traoré was not a man for secret arrests or backroom deals. He wanted the world to see what Africa had learned to see for itself. Rather than a midnight raid, Traoré set a stage. A press conference, announced with little fanfare. The two foreigners were invited as honored guests, their names added to the list at the last moment. The trap was set, but the world saw only an ordinary event. The presidential press room. Local journalists gather. The two foreigners arrive, one in beige trousers and a white shirt, the other in a dark suit, both wearing press badges. The air is tense. The silence heavy. As the cameras rolled, what began as a routine press conference shifted. Traoré entered, calm and composed. He greeted the guests, then turned to the two men. The questions started simply about their work, their impressions of Burkina Faso. But quickly, the tone changed. Traoré held up a folder, his voice measured. Traoré, gentlemen, do you deny these photos? These messages, these recordings? A soldier enters, carrying a laptop. The screen flickers to life. A map of Burkina Faso appears, marked with oil routes, mine locations, and two unmarked military storage depots. The room gasps. The evidence was undeniable. Surveillance photos, intercepted communications, and a trove of data linking the men to foreign intelligence. The room's atmosphere shifted from celebration to confrontation. One man tried to explain, stammering about research and journalistic freedom. The other sat frozen, silent. Traoré's voice, unwavering. Did you come to tell Africa's story or to steal it? Within hours, the footage was everywhere. On TikTok, young people in Ghana, Nigeria, and Mali reposted the clip. This is how you protect your country. In Ouagadougou, music stopped in the shops, replaced by the president's calm voice and the silent walkout of the two men. Interviews with citizens. A young woman. They used to come with guns. Now they come with cameras. But we see them now. An elderly man. He exposed them without raising his voice. That's real strength. In France, the response was muted. In Africa, it was electric. This wasn't just about catching spies. It was about seeing the trap, breaking it, and standing tall. Across the continent, the message was clear. Africa has eyes now. The story became a rallying cry, a symbol of vigilance and pride. For the first time, the narrative was not written by outsiders, but by Africans themselves. He didn't need to say another word. The world had already heard him. You came for stories. Now you are the story. In the hours after the press conference, the two foreigners, once hailed as journalists, were transferred under heavy guard to a secure military facility outside the capital. Their equipment, phones, and digital archives were seized for forensic analysis. Interrogations began, not in secret, but under the watchful eye of a nation that demanded answers. Diplomatic fallout was swift. The French embassy demanded consular access and the immediate release of its nationals, calling the charges unfounded and politically motivated. Official statements from Paris and Brussels echoed across international news, but in Ouagadougou, the government stood firm. There would be no quiet handover, no apology. The evidence, they insisted, spoke for itself. France, already reeling from the loss of military bases and diplomatic influence in the Sahel, found itself isolated. Other Western nations urged restraint, but the Burkina government made it clear: national security was not negotiable. Across the region, reactions were mixed. Mali and Niger-Burkina Faso's new allies in the alliance of Sahel states issued statements of support, praising Traoré's vigilance and resolve. In other capitals, leaders watched with caution, wary of provoking similar confrontations with former colonial powers. The incident sparked fierce debate across Africa. Was this a bold stand for sovereignty or a risky escalation in a volatile region? In the streets of Ouagadougou, the answer was clear. People gathered in celebration, painting murals of Traoré and sharing viral clips with the words, "Africa has eyes now." End of Chapter 4. President Traoré stands before the nation, his uniform crisp, his face solemn. The room is silent as he speaks. Traoré: "We must tell our own story. We must guard our own future. No one else will do it for us." Traoré's address was brief, but its impact was profound. He called for unity, vigilance, and pride, not just in Burkina Faso, but across the continent. The message resonated far beyond the borders of his country. Panel of expert security analysts, historians, and journalists discussing the risks and realities of espionage in Africa. Security analyst: "Espionage is not new to Africa, but the digital age has made it more pervasive. Foreign actors, state and non-state use every tool available. Cyber attacks, fake NGOs, even journalists. The only defense is constant vigilance and strong leadership." Historian: "This is a turning point. For decades, Africa's story was told by outsiders. Now, leaders like Traoré are reclaiming the narrative. It's not just about security, it's about dignity." Student: "I used to think our leaders were powerless, but now I see we can stand up for ourselves." Elder: "We have been watching for too long. Now, we are the ones watching." In the end, this was more than the capture of 2 spies. It was a declaration, a new chapter in Burkina Faso's history. The world watched as a small nation stood tall, refusing to be a pawn in someone else's game. The incident redefined the balance of power in West Africa. It forced a reckoning with the legacy of foreign interference and inspired a wave of solidarity across the continent and beyond. Traoré: "We are no longer invisible. We are no longer silent. Africa has eyes now." In a world of shifting alliances and hidden agendas, vigilance is the price of freedom. The story you've just witnessed is not only about 2 spies. It's about a nation that refused to be deceived, a people who reclaimed their voice, and a continent rising to defend its dignity. Across Africa and beyond, the spirit of resistance and unity has ignited a movement. In marketplaces and classrooms, in the diaspora and at home, people are celebrating not just a leader, but the idea that Africa's destiny belongs to Africans. Now, more than ever, your voice matters. Stand with those who defend truth, sovereignty, and justice. Support independent African journalism. Question the narratives presented by outsiders. Learn the stories that aren't told on the nightly news. This is how we protect our civic space, our rights, and our future. Burkina Faso's journey is a lesson for us all. That freedom is not given, it is claimed. That resilience is forged in the face of adversity. That unity is our greatest shield against those who would divide us. From the streets of Ouagadougou to the hearts of Africans everywhere, the message is clear. We will not be silent. We will not be invisible. We will write our own history, sing our own songs, and defend our own land. Traoré's voice, lifted from a speech. Africa's story will be told by Africans. We must guard our own future. We must stand together. And to those who would seek to undermine us, know this: we are awake, we are united, and we are free. Join the movement, celebrate your heroes, defend your truth, and never forget, Africa has eyes now. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep the story alive. The future is ours.